Hello, everyone. Warmly welcome to Speak Up Monday. My name is Nathalie Banaszak, and tonight I will be your host. And today we have a special panel going on with these three gorgeous, beautiful ladies, Michelle, Yodit, and Cate. And I will ask you to introduce yourself in just a little bit. So tonight we will discuss, well, the topic for tonight is what it truly takes to carve out your own path as a female creator, as a female entrepreneur. And these ladies are very inspirational human beings, and I look forward to dive into this conversation with you. So, whoa. Amazing. That feels fantastic, yes. So just to give you a little bit of a context, what we really want to do together here with you today is to just have a real conversation. Because most often we get to see the end result of what success look like. And we're here to speak about the journey, like everything in between. What does it truly take to create those kind of results that we might see, on a web page or in social media or whatever? What about the highs and the lows, the setbacks, the challenges, and all those things. So we are here to have a real conversation, and I think the biggest challenge, well, for me and I think for us, is to actually keep ourselves within like the 1 hour mark, but we'll do our best. And super happy to have all of you here to share this evening with us. So, ladies, I'm going to invite you to introduce yourself. So we have Michelle Gardiner, we have Yodit, Tadesse, and we have Cate Dubois. So share with the audience and everyone who's watching live a little bit like who you are, where you're from, what you do.
I don't have a microphone. Thank you. First things resolved. So my name's Michelle. Michelle Gardiner. I'm from Australia, and I've been in Bali for nearly 3 years now. My background is primarily in social work and a whole bunch of other bits and pieces. And I'm the founder and director of the Aspire series and 55 Faces, which are both global platforms for women who are leading change and impact.
Hi, my name is Yodit. I'm from Ethiopia, and I am a traveler and a content creator.
Hi, I'm Cate Dubois, and I'm from Australia. I've been in Bali for about 5 years. I don't like to be defined by what I do or what I've done in the past, but I do feel like I'm a mother and mentor to many here in Bali, and especially to my 2 children, Camille and Dion.
Wow, okay, amazing. So let's get the conversation going. And I think a good way to start the conversation will be by discussing the definition of success, because obviously it's a word that comes with a lot of charge, depending on where we're from, what kind of program we might have been brought into and so on. So I would like to ask you ladies to share, what's your definition of success? What does it look like? What does it feel? Whoever feel called to start.
All right, I was waiting for someone else. So I don't feel that there is a definition of success. I think it's very much individually defined. Funnily, a little while ago, I was thinking about what it was for me, and I think a lot of it is around being able to create what I want when I want. Like, I know for a lot of people it's kind of like, have this relaxed lifestyle type thing, but I think it's more about how can I do what I do in the ways that I want to do it in the most effective way and in the ways that create the kind of impact in the world that I want to create. So, and I think being able to create freely really helps with that. Yeah.
Wow, beautiful. Okay, so I hear you mention something that brings us to the word freedom, as we have been discussing here a lot before. To be free to be who we are, to do what we do, to do what we want to do, and to be free to create, like you said. And we obviously have three beautiful creators here, not only entrepreneurs, but actually creators. So, Cate or Yodit, would you want to add something?
Yeah, I'd like to add that one of my highest values is freedom, and I agree with Michelle that success looks like, for me, when you're able to be truly aligned with who you are, and you've been able to witness all of those negative beliefs or limiting beliefs that you've had, that you've been programmed with, and remove them along the way. They don't all get removed overnight, but actually remove them and be able to forge forward using all of your tools to stay truly aligned to who you are. And I think that what I've witnessed as a 57-year-old, that when you stay truly aligned to who you are and you're in spirit, and we were talking about that before, that you can't not be successful.
Well, success to me is living on your own true self, no? Because we are living in a box and we are taught to do that. Even though we are not happy with that, we will have to do that because that's what we know. But living on your own truths, doing something that you love, for me, is being successful.
I love that. Beautiful. I think we could keep going here. But just to bring it back to the topic, so the topic for tonight is what it truly takes to carve your own path. And by that, in this context, like all of you guys, and well, myself as well, have chosen a very, well, unconventional path, we probably could say the least. And for anyone who is on a more unconventional path, whatever we put into that meaning, obviously that comes with some challenges and things we have to face along the way and so on. And here we could hear you guys defining, if we need to define no success from your point of view. But I mean, being born and raised and brought up into the box, as you were saying, Yodit, about how things should be, how it maybe should look, and how that affects us, and what it actually takes to be able to move beyond that and just be free to be ourselves. And I just want to highlight this because obviously we met up before. And Yodit, please share with us, what did you want to be when you were a kid?
Well, when I was a child, before I was asked, I saw people walking in the streets that are foreigners, and I asked my mother, because I'm as a child, and I said to her, who are these people? And she said to me, they're tourists. And I'm like, what is tourist? And she said, they're people who go around and have adventures, and that's what they do. And I said, this is amazing. I want to be a tourist when I grow up. So since, in kindergarten, I said I wanted to be a tourist, even though I had no idea what that means, but somehow was stuck in my head, even as an adult, that must be a job. I want to be that. I don't want to live in this thing. So I work hard to make my life to be a tourist.
I just felt that we had to start with this because when she said this, I was like, okay, this is going on the show because it's just adorable. And not only adorable, because how powerful looking at what you're actually doing now. And even though we might be challenged to actually go for whatever we want, whatever lights us up, whatever we really truly want to do, and maybe, I don't know, maybe you were met some way along the road with someone who was maybe a little bit skeptical about you becoming a tourist for a living.
Oh, absolutely. Everybody, even me. Because especially growing up in Africa is kind of different, it's not something that you see as a profession. Well, no, even in Europe, anywhere else, tourist is not a profession. But at the same time, it's not in our culture to be like a tourist, to go to places. Professions are doctor, engineer, these type of things. If you're not, it's like, what's wrong with you, So with the challenges of having my Ethiopian passport and traveling with that, it's all of this together. It was an impossible task. But I wanted it, and I am it.
Wow. Like some applause for that. I think that's amazing. Well done. Well done. Well done. And I think it gives us an important lesson, as we could feel when we were speaking about this as well, because what kind of world would we be living in if we were actually told to, follow what lights you up, what brings you joy, what does your soul, spirit, whatever you want to say, create, and to actually have that level of freedom to be able to go and at least try to create the kind of life and legacy and impact that we want to create here in this world. And yeah, we actually have been speaking a lot about the word impact. And I know all of you ladies, you are creating impact in this world that matters from actually being yourself, which is the most beautiful thing. So I think also like the word impact is quite a charged word. Instead of actually looking into like, what could I possibly do to create some kind of change? What kind of change do I want to see? And that's the discussion we have been having as well. So Michelle, impact, what does that mean to you?
I think that we're always creating change. Sorry, I'll take that back. Change is happening regardless. Like every single moment there's change happening. You could look at how fashion changes. Like it's happening regardless of whether we're directing it or not. So I think that impact is our capacity to direct that change and to have some kind of influence over it. And to do that in ways that hold meaning for us.
So I'm going to ask to invite you in as well, Cate, but it's just bringing a context to the full thing. We were having a conversation about this, and obviously you guys know what Yodit wanted to be when she was a kid. And I asked, obviously, Cate and Michelle the same questions. And what you guys said was basically, I always knew that I wanted to help people. I always just knew that I wanted to help people and make the world better in some kind of way. And Cate, you said something that I remember, and you said, let's just be happy and healthy and useful, which I love. How can we find a way to be happy, to be healthy, and at the same time be actually useful for ourselves, the people we love, and the world? So would you want to add something to that? Happy, healthy, useful. What does that mean?
Okay, I think, first of all, I remember saying to you that my mum asked me the same thing, what would I like to be? And I'd been in St Kilda in Melbourne and seen, obviously, prostitutes. So when she asked me what I wanted to be when I grew up, I said prostitute, because I'd seen all these pretty girls in high heel shoes and dresses. Anyway, then when I found out what it was, I was only 5, I decided I actually wanted to help people. And I think that we can help people just by being in our true alignment, for sure. But it's more than that. As a parent, I think we have a huge responsibility to inform our children of how they can be by allowing them to be themselves. And actually that's what I said to my children, and a lot of parents might be horrified with this, but I tried to talk them out of going to university when they left school. And I actually said to them, all I want you to be is happy, healthy and useful. And one of my spiritual teachers, I guess you could call him, Habesha, says, you can meditate as much as you like and pray as long as you like, but there must be action out of it. There must be some sort of actionable items that come out of it. So it's this doing the best that you can to be the best version of yourself. And we hear that all the time, but then allow that ripple effect to move through. And, stop trying to get our kids to find their purpose, because they're already here. That's their purpose.
We were like, wow, that's powerful. That, like happy, healthy, and useful. And also in the conversation that we were having earlier, what does that mean? And I think it was you also, Cate, who said that, to just be able to recognize the huge power that each and every one of us have within ourselves to create some kind of change, whatever that might be, whatever that might look like. And I know, Yodit, you have been sharing something similar to that as well. When we first met, we were speaking about this for quite some time, and you obviously, you have what you're doing coming with an important message. What does that mean to you? Creating something, impact, positive change.
Well, I mean, each of us have our own way how we can impact the world. And my own way was, obviously, I am black. So going to places, I do face different type of opinions. So I have two choices on how to respond to it. I can be angry about it, or I can be angry about it, or I can say the message that they're getting is from the type of negative information there is out there. So how do I change that? So it's me by becoming and doing something that's against that, no? And instead of just saying, like, don't do this, I can just do something positive and share. So I can be an impact on those people to change their mind about negative things that they have about Africa, for example. Everything that you see about Africa on TV could be, war, hunger, and, these hungry children with the fly in their eyes. But that's not the reality. But I can't say, like, that's not the truth, because no one will hear, because what they see on the bigger screen is that. So what can I do to change that is show the reality in my own eyes, how my culture is, how the people is, and how we actually live. And in my own small channel, I share those cultures, I show those ideas. Even when I come out of my country and I try to be with other people in their culture and immerse myself in there, and then I can create an impact in their life and in their opinion of what Africa is. And then you could connect that human connection, and at the end of the day, we're not so different. So instead of, telling people, like, this is wrong, you're doing this, you're doing that, it's not their responsibility to talk positive thing about me. It's my responsibility to talk positive thing about myself. So instead of pointing finger and saying, like, oh, they're doing this to us, they're doing this to us, I try to be that change and say, okay, they're doing this, but it benefits them to say these things. So if I want these things to benefit me and I want to create an impact on other people, I have to do the positive thing or share what reality is.
Wow, we're nodding here. So this brings me to like a famous Gandhi quote. I'm sure you've heard it. He said, you have to become the change that you want to see. And obviously, that takes something. Being on an unconventional path, whatever that might look like, takes something. So we said in the beginning, I said, let's be real. So we see the results here. Obviously, you guys are entrepreneurs, creators. You're doing your thing, creating change, which is just so inspirational. So what would you say? What has been your biggest setbacks, challenges? Obviously, they keep coming. It's not just like we face them once and then they disappear. But what comes up to your mind, like setbacks, challenges, maybe even rock bottoms? Who want to share?
I think for me is public and family opinion has been a big part of my setbacks, and often it was what stopped me from being able to move forward and do what I really felt was necessary. And then finding the courage to actually step into that when you know that it's not aligned with everybody else. And I think the greatest lesson that's come from those moments for me, because I always try to find those setbacks, find the silver lining in them, is that we have to find our own true north. I just keep banging on about that, because nobody is ever going to see your life with the same set of eyes, with the same perception. And so even when you do what's aligned for them, they're still not happy. The collective I'm talking about. So just do the best for yourself and take the setbacks, as my good friend Rob says, as a cheap MBA. I've had lots of those. And when you lose money, you lose friends, you lose family, whatever, it's all part of the journey, and you just have to find the courage of your heart to follow self-love, yeah.
Yeah, so what do we do when we might be down there for a little bit and maybe even feeling at some point, is it worth it? Why can't I just be like everyone else and just be a little bit more normal? I know that I've experienced that, like sometimes, and it's challenging. How do you navigate yourself if you've ever felt that, and if that would happen, like self-doubt or anything, just going for your own thing, regardless of what others might be thinking and so on. Michelle, I know you have some interesting stories here. You want to share?
Where do I start? I could write an encyclopedia, I think. I have one for every letter of the alphabet. I think that the biggest setback often is, well, it's one that I've particularly experienced, is who in the hell am I to do that? And I don't know if it's more of a female thing or not, but I think that that's a really, really big one. And yeah, good. So I think one of the things, particularly this year, that's helped me navigate that is that every time that I hold myself back, I know that I'm holding over 100 women back. So it's not even about me. It's about something far bigger. And would I want the same for them? Would I, if they were sitting with that thing of, and knowing that there are several of them here, if they were sitting with that, who in the hell am I to do that, then would I want for them to sit there and get stuck in that? Yeah. And no, I absolutely would not. So why in the hell would I want that for me? Because if I say that, then I'm also putting that on them as well. The other thing I wanted to say as well is on the true north, it might seem like when you're, like if there's true north here, I'll say there because the camera's there. If you're 2 degrees off, it might be like, oh yeah, it's only 2 degrees. Like 2 degrees when you're sitting here off a true north isn't very much. But if you go 100, 200, 500 kilometres, 2 degrees is a hell of a lot of a way off. And that then takes a fair bit of backpedaling to then get back onto the true north again. So it's absolutely not worth heading anywhere other than the true north. Yeah. What else did you want? Yeah. What else do I want to say? I sometimes think, like, in terms of impact and that kind of thing, like, impact happens. And the other thing that I would add to success as well that we didn't mention was that I think relationships, the quality of the relationships that we have with other people in the world, whether it's, whoever it is, whether it's the person that serves you coffee in the morning or whether it's, the people that are closest to you. It's the quality of our relationships that I think determine life and determine our experiences. Our experiences are about who we're around and how we are with other people and how they are with us. So, and I'm thinking of a couple of women that I'm involved with at the moment and the stories that they share and their definitions of success and their ideas around success are so much around relationships and the things that aren't, being an entrepreneur or being a this or being a that, they're more often than not the mama stories. And I absolutely adore the mama stories and I don't feel that they get heard enough. Like there's one woman in our book who her thing of the way that she wants to create impact in the world, she said, every time that I sit with my 5-year-old grandson, every time that I sit with him and he's been bullied at school and I sit on the ground with him and he puts his ear on my leg and I say to him, it's okay, tell me how you feel, let me know how you feel. And she helps him to articulate his feelings. She talks about how doing that with him is creating women's empowerment for the next generation. So when we're here talking about women's empowerment and women's leadership, it doesn't actually end with women. And it's so much broader than that. It's the impact is in every single interaction that we have. And that's not only with women, that's men as well, that's little boys. It's every single person that we have on the planet, every single interaction that we have on the planet. Yeah, that's all.
Wow, you see, we have some serious wisdom here. Thank you. And I think what Michelle just said is so important because obviously these ladies, as myself, happen to be creators and entrepreneurs. But I mean, obviously there are so many different ways to create change, like the mom story. We're not going to dive even deeper into that, but For someone, that might be the biggest way of being at service. What a beautiful way to create love and positivity here in this world. So, regardless of who you are, where you're coming from, your personal story, what's the, your unique skills, gifts, talents, whatever calling you might have, and to bring it back to the world, speaking about being happy, healthy, and useful in whatever way it might fit, well, me, you, or anyone who's watching us here. So speaking about then being on a more unconventional path, whatever that means, most often from my own personal experience, also professionally, there is always some kind of defining moment. We have a crossroad and we get to choose. Okay, so I take left. And if I take left, I have the familiar, I might have the safe, I know that it would probably be a really, really good life even, And then yet, there might be something within that's calling on our attention. Anyone in the audience who can relate? Yeah, mm-hmm. And you ladies, I know? Yes. So it's interesting because let's look into the definition of a defining moment. I don't have it by the word, but having a defining moment obviously can be, a pivotal shift in our lives, a moment where things just shift and we decide, do I go left or do I go right? And most often it will take us on quite a transformational journey. And what we can expect on that journey is yet in the unknown. And yet we choose to take a huge, maybe a leap of faith and jump. Why do we do that? What is the calling? So let's dive into that. Let's begin with speaking a little bit about defining moments. I want to ask the ladies this. It was just like a laughter, and then was like, how many can I choose? Because there's defining moments all the time. But I said, and I'm saying now, okay, but if I'm forcing you to just pick one defining moment, what would that be? Cate, what is for you?
Okay, thank you. I feel like defining moments are a tap on the shoulder from the higher self saying, get a move on, you're not on the right path. And I guess it wasn't my first defining moment, but my brother died at the age of 43, and he was my eldest brother. And I remember thinking, I can't let this moment go past without checking in on my life and seeing where I am on my path and whether or not I'm truly aligned. And it was really that moment that I decided that I couldn't be in the marriage that I was in because I'd gone into it with not the wrong intentions but the wrong knowledge, and it had been something that I knew for a really long time. It took me a little while to get the courage to extrapolate out and a couple more defining moments. But the other defining moments were certainly like taps on the shoulder, and I feel like we are always getting those taps on the shoulder. And if we ignore them, that's fine, because we can career off our path as much as we like, because this journey is infinite. If we don't learn it in this particular evolution, we'll probably encounter it in the next one. But my practice at the moment is to be vigilant to those moments, to be witness. Mickey and I were talking about it today, to be really, really vigilant in that, just watching those moments we're being tapped on the shoulder and then using them to springboard off into new adventures, new creations. And often a lot of the painful parts in your life that you experience hold great information about where you need to go. It's not like they just show up with nothing. If you sit with them and allow the white noise to disappear, often you will come up with the inspiration of where it is you need to move to next. And I'm so blessed that I chose Bali in the end. But yeah, thank you.
Yeah, it's interesting because obviously Bali seems to be the connecting point for all of us here. At some point, actually, Bali was calling our name, and here we are, and everyone you here watching in the audience as well. So, Yodit, let's bring it to you. What would you say if you could describe it? Let's call it your calling? What was it that was calling you? I mean, obviously you shared a little bit earlier, but just, yeah, what was your calling and what is your calling?
Well, my calling was I wanted to be a tourist. No, but like you said, like the defining moment, let's start with that. The defining moment was I lived the way in the box I was taught. So I did the school that I'm supposed to do. I had a job just like I was supposed to do. I had a really nice perfect fiance, and I had a perfect wedding organized. But I was miserable and dead inside. So I went and spoke with my grandfather. To mind you, if you don't have African families, so the biggest achievement for an African family is when your daughter gets married and have a child. Doesn't matter when she gets her doctorate or engineering or whatever masters. It's like great, but now babies, you know. So for me, like I was that was it. But I went to my grandfather and I told him, I'm getting married, Grandpa. He didn't even look at me. He's just reading his book. And then I repeated, and I said, have you heard me? I said, I'm getting married. He put his glasses like this and looked at me and said, are you happy? And I stopped for a minute because no one ever asked me that. And I was like stumbling. I was like, and he's like, there's your answer. He said, I love you, my child. If you're happy with that and you want to get married, I will support you. And this is not expected from African parents. I'm telling you, like, because this is what I was supposed to do. But for him to say that, that was like a bam, you know? And I said, you know what, you're right. Like, I'm doing everything I'm supposed to do to make everyone around me happy. And then that was my defining moment when I said, I came back home and I spoke to my perfect fiance. He was everything. And I said to him, listen, we could be married, but down the line, I will make you miserable. I will make me miserable, and I will hate our children because I didn't get to do the things that I wanted to do, which was get out there, see the world, and be a tourist. For some strange reason, I was stuck with that. But then I came out of that, and I became it, and I have no regrets. I have no regrets, and living without regret is a very important thing, because everybody says, like, we live, you only live once. No, you live every day, you die once. So we forget that thing that every day we are living, but we're not really. So I wanted to take a chance of this life that I have and, you know, live it. I think I get off of topic. What was your question again?
No. I think it was actually perfect on topic. Thank you for sharing. Yeah. And speaking about, you know, impact, sometimes we never know, and I'm sure everyone here has experienced that. I sure have. Whether it's a sentence in a book, someone says something like your granddad did here. Are you happy? It was not that much information. It was one simple sentence. And for you, well, that ended up being pretty much like a defining moment. So speaking about, like, do not ever underestimate the power that one sentence can have in someone else's life. So that's powerful. Yeah, let's invite the audience in here. I know we have, Bianca already said that she wanted to ask a question, and she said, so we make sure it's not an awkward silence. So we got that covered. Thank you. Anyways, whoever, maybe Bianca wants to start. No pressure. And if anyone else has some question, let's invite you guys in. So feel free to ask Michelle, Yodit, and Cate, whatever you might be sitting and thinking about. Oh, the microphone.
So the microphone was Mum will bring to you. Maybe just raise your hand so he knows who's coming to. Renee,
Sorry for completely
No,
pointing out
it's
there.
totally fine. I did promise I would do a question. So thank you very much, ladies, for all that beautiful wisdom. I guess following on from the idea around defining moments, what has been the best piece of advice that you've got along the way? Because it's one thing to start the journey with a defining moment, but it's the other thing to be able to have that persistence, and we often need a big support crew around us. So I'm just wondering if you've got other beautiful words of wisdom that have kept you going in the times that have been a little bit challenging that you want to share. putting you on the spot now.
For me, it's don't expect anything. Expectation is the worst thing that we can do to ourselves. Because every time I expect something, I have high standards and I go for that. And when it doesn't come out like that, it's the worst feeling ever. So expectation is the worst thing. So for me, after that defining moment, I just went for it. And knowing that there is no expectation from nobody else but myself, also, I don't force myself with expectation. Like, you have to reach this goal. Like, we are taught, like, you have to have this year to do these things. And that expectation is really horrible. Like, you're so hard on yourself when you don't reach that goal. So don't put expectation on yourself, because things can happen without your expectation or without your plan, even better. So for me, is just go with the flow, no expectations.
I think I was told this when I was in my late teens, but it was to give yourself advice as you would to your best friend. So it seems like a really simple one, but for me, I use it always. And then offering myself permission to be able to be, there is no right or wrong, but to be able to muck up and just finding new information in the so-called mistakes. So there are no mistakes, there's just new information.
So much wisdom.
I have a few things coming to me. One is something that my dad said to me when I was a teenager. I think I wanted to do something big or crazy or whatever it was. And he said to me, well, you're going to have to get off your butt and work for it then, aren't you? So I think it's that very simple, timeless advice of, yes, you can do whatever you want, but you're going to actually have to work for it. And I think that was backed up by a piece of wisdom from the jungle, different jungle. Same concept, different jungle, which was around, you know, there are times that there are going to be things you have to move through to get to where you want to go that are going to be really tough, and are you still going to back yourself when you do that? So I think that concept of, I think there's this space between, almost like a continuum between really backing yourself and just going for it, and absolute self-compassion and when to let go. And I find that in most cases when you go, I've headed to the end of where I can, and you just go, you know what, let go, just go for a swim or whatever. Chances are you'll come back with some other kind of idea, input, where to next. So they're things that have been really pivotal for me.
Thank you. Lovely. Lots of extra wisdom. Thank you.
That's amazing. Okay, someone else in the audience wants to ask a question. Yes.
Is that working? Yeah. Thank you for all your shares. It looks too pretty to me, still. And I like the juice, and I like the reality of actually how life tastes like, and sometimes it doesn't taste that good, and sometimes we do not taste that good. So what I would love to know is how it looks like when you are in your ugliest moment, when something happens, and you're not all imbued with this wonderful spirituality that you're sharing with us, and that you're actually human, and you stink, and you react in ways that maybe don't make you feel that proud. So I'd like to have an example so that we can really get a fair taste of it, so that everyone who goes through that doesn't feel somewhat strange or isolated, that they know that you're actually very much like the rest of us. Thank you.
I completely agree. I actually had that like a week ago, like not long ago. But I don't like to talk about it with people. I just close myself in my own room or my own space, cry my heart out, look like shit, and just let it be. I let myself feel. Because most of the time, I am a bubbly person, I'm happy, I am this, and people see that. And when you have a bad day, you are not allowed to have a bad day. So that is a very bad thing. And we can't talk like bubbly people. We can't really tell people we're having a bad day because it's not expected of us. So the response that I get is like, you have everything going for you. You're this, you're that. And I'm like, hey, I'm allowed to have a bad day. And I'm allowed to cry. I'm allowed to be angry. I'm allowed to feel, because at the end of the day, I am human. I'm not made out of rock. So I have those moments, and I let myself have that. I stop sharing it with people, because when I share with people, what is making me upset does not make them upset. So the replies that I would get is like, you're so like this, be positive, be this. And I'm like, darling, I'm 99% of the time positive. So let me have that 1% when I need it, because it's okay to feel that. So whenever someone is upset, I just let them be upset. I'm not even going to talk. I just say, okay, cry it out, scream it out. What can I do to help? That's all I can offer, is like, what can I do to help? Because I'm not feeling the same way you are, so I can't really tell you, you should be feeling like this, you should be doing this. So yeah, like last week, I was in my room, crying, looking like a mess, don't want to take a shower. I ate junk food, and when I was done, I was like, oh, I'm okay now. Moving on. Next step. You know?
Carol, can I please thank you for this? Because it's the stuff that I love as well. It's like, give me the real stuff. I have this image in my head of myself like on child's pose on the floor going, what on earth comes next? Where do I go next? And I think at the time, Bali had closed its borders again in the middle of last year, and I was like, actually, what does this place even want from me? Like, and I think all of us can relate to that. And like, okay, yes, Bali, you wanted me here. Like, why am I here? And what on earth is it that I'm actually meant to be doing? And yeah, I was literally in child's pose on the floor, and I'm very open with that, clearly, and just going, I don't know. I actually don't know. And I think as an entrepreneur, like, surely, like, we all have those moments where it's like, I don't know what comes next. I don't know where to next. And sitting in that nothingness it's so brave. There's a lot of braveness in that, when it'd be so easy to go in any other direction. For me, I couldn't, because the flights had stopped off the island. So, and it felt like there was cement in my feet. But it was from that space where I downloaded like a whole, and talking about spiritual stuff, I hate that term, downloaded. But I had this whole basically organisational plan come from nowhere, and this concept that's brought on board 100 and something women. And that came from that absolute rock bottom space of, I don't actually know what the hell I'm doing here and where to next. Yeah. I think we've all had lots of those moments.
Kate, you wanna go too?
Yeah, I can relate to both of you. I've had some very messy times, and I actually force myself into the messy times, and I do some breath work and just bawl my eyes out to my favourite piece of music. But because I do love being melancholy, actually. I enjoy that, and I love indulging in that. But I have been in child's pose, and Michelle's a lot more delicate than me, but my prayer is like, what the fuck am I doing? What am I supposed to be doing now? And as a result of some really big meltdowns over the beginning of COVID, because I was fighting my way out of a paper bag with everything and everyone around me, including my husband, Rob, because I couldn't go home and see my children, and I was behaving like a spoiled child, I wrote a book called Triggered as Fuck, and it's it's a guide to how to navigate your life and not lose your shit. And so I lose my shit a lot. And the reason that I feel like I'm an expert on how not to lose your shit is because I do. And I was so reactive and projecting onto everybody else around me. And I think that's the biggest key when you're, for me, personally, when I'm projecting onto other people, that's when I realise I have to go inward and have that dark night of the soul and really see what's going on and be honest and take full responsibility for it. But yeah, it gets really messy, ugly, all sorts of, reactions. And
Here we are. Good question. Opening up everything. And you were saying something there, Kate. I'm a big fan of quotes, and there is this quote said by Elizabeth Gilbert. She says, just learn how to embrace all the glorious mess that you are. I am practicing this so hard. And I know from my own experience, like for me, and I think we actually spoke about this earlier as well, it's quite easy to love maybe the sunny parts of ourselves. For me, that's something I'm really practicing, learning to be okay with the other stuff as well, the child pose, or the I'm going to lock myself in my room, or fuck this shit, or whatever language might show up in the middle of the mess. And yeah, so that was a powerful question. Thanks for bringing that in. And because we said in the beginning when we were chatting, like, how can we just we speak about all these big things, and we do, because that's obviously such a huge part of what we're doing, but also just understanding that there might be a reason why not everyone is up to take the journey, because it truly takes something. But, however, it might be messy, and we might be down there in child's pose. By the way, who in the audience can relate to some of the things that were in here? Okay, so guys, you who are watching live can't see this, but everybody's basically raising their hands. So perhaps you can relate, that is my guess. So the follow-up question then, is it worth it? And why is it worth it? Why? Like, why would anyone want to put ourselves and yourself through this kind of things? Like, is there an easier way or not? And like, how come we're still on this journey and doing the work, trying to show up the best way we can, and so on and so on? What would be your reply to that?
I don't get the question.
Anyone get the question?
Yes. Can you repeat?
Okay, I'll try to make it shorter. Let's say if you're experiencing mess,
Yes.
you might be down on the floor, feeling shit and tired and wondering if it's worth it or whatever. But still, it must be something, it is something within us, within all of us, that keeps us going. So whether it's a why, your mission, purpose, whatever you want to call it. So when you're down there on the floor, or whatever it might look like for you, what keeps you going? What is it that makes you stand up again?
Everyone, every single person in the world has like some kind of shelf or something that just is filled with stuff. Like, there's just random stuff that nobody actually uses or needs, or you buy once and then you end up with it for forever, or you use once and you have it for forever. Like, that shelf is going to be filled regardless. So it's like, what do you actually want to fill the shelf with? So I think that life is like that. So I think that's one side of it. So if it wasn't this, it would be something else. Like, mess is going to be there regardless. Life is filled with mess. So, what's your choice? What's your choice of mess? The other thing is that I think about myself and my work desk, and I absolutely loved my job, but I always knew that there was like another evolution or another something. So it's like, what would be the alternative with that shelf? Still being at the work desk, kind of going, I know there's something that I'm not tapping into. And the last thing, kind of tapping into what Cate was saying, I also, part of my purpose and part of why I'm here as well is that it has to do with death as well. And sometimes death is what influences living. And there was one particular year of my life when I was going through this whole thing of what on earth does it even mean to be a woman in the world? And alongside that, all these women that I didn't know personally, but I felt really strongly affected when they passed away. They just died randomly. And when each woman died, I was just like, are you actually living fully? Like, what is it that you're not doing that you could be doing? And it could be anyone at any time. So is it worth it? Like, what's the alternative? The mess is going to be there regardless. So what's your choice of mess? Yeah, I think it's worth it. Most of the time.
Yes. Okay, ladies, want to add on something?
For me, it depends. If the mess is worth it, then, like I said, I will cry it out. And once that feeling is resolved and I feel okay again, then I continue because it's something that I love and something that I want to achieve. But if it's not something that doesn't really change anything, or it's not something that I aspire, but it's making me feel like that, I drop it. I will feel like that in the moment, and if it's just choosing your mess. Like, I choose my mess. If my mess is something that I want to get over because I need to move on, I will do that. But if that mess is something that's not going nowhere, I just will be upset in that moment, deal with it, but then not continue with this mess, you know? And then just give more attention to the mess that will get me somewhere, because any type of situation, relationship, business, or anything, it will always have that bad moment. But if that moment is worth it, then you continue on that. But there are moments that are not really worth it because they're not going nowhere, you drop that. So I do that.
That's powerful. People, choose your mess and go from that place. Okay, Cate.
I think there's a beautiful metaphor in yoga that the lotus flower can only bloom when its roots are steeped in dirt and muck. And if we only need to look to nature to understand that there's a birth and a life and a death going on continuously, and know that we actually are nature ourselves and that we're no different from nature. I know that there's been many governments trying to tell us that for a very long time, but in fact we are nature, and that there is always going to be birth, life and death cycles. And if we can allow ourselves just to move through it gracefully like nature does, and understand that with each darkness that we step into, even though it might feel really icky, there will be something quite beautiful behind it. And sometimes, like you say, you can choose your mess. It might not be the right time. So if we're not feeling that courage and that strength and the support, perhaps we just don't go there yet. But eventually go there we all must. And so I feel like it's giving yourself permission to step into the muck, but making sure that you choose your time to do that.
Wow. Okay, so the word permission has been coming up here a couple of times. In the context of really going for it and doing your own thing, and obviously you guys are doing brilliant things in your own unique ways. In what kind of ways have you been needing to give yourself permission to go for something else? What has been the most crucial thing that you have been needing to give yourself permission to just go ahead and do?
That's a good question.
Yeah, she's got the question, but I'm still trying.
And now I'm thinking that I remember last time we were saying allow silence. So now we're having a powerful silence, people.
No, but I want to hear the question again.
So the question, because we have been speaking about giving ourselves permission, to go for it, to go for something else. So out of everything that you have been doing on your unconventional path, the path that you're on, what has been the most important thing that you have been needing to give yourself permission to be or to do in order to be who you are today?
I get it, yeah.
She gets it. Amazing.
Not to be a people pleaser.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm there. So I'm doing everything that I want to do. I was that person. I stopped doing that. So right now, I am there. That's why I was a little bit I'm trying to look for something, but I'm happy. I'm giving myself permission to do lots of things that I was not doing before. So right now, I do everything that I want to do. So there's nothing that I say to myself nah, because of this. So yeah. Good for me. Good for me.
There's two things that come to mind. The first is permission to be whoever you want to be. Yes. In itself, and to just be able to own that and claim it, whatever it is, just decide that this is how I want to be and become that. The other thing is, I think similar to that is like another expression or another evolution or another expansion of that. And I do feel that, you know, we're always at a time and place in the world where like good people need to be doing important stuff and, you know, creating whatever it is that they create so that the world becomes better and our lives become better. And, you know, if good people are kind of sitting around going, well, I don't know if I want to create something that's an expansion of me, then I think we're in a bit of trouble. So we kind of just need to.
Oh yeah, I want to add one thing to this. Okay. There is one thing. I am I am giving permission to myself to say no. Because I'm a yes person. It's everything is like yes. If someone wants to do this, it's a yes. Someone wants to go out or anything, I'm always a yes person, even though I don't want to. So now I'm a no person. So no.
Oh, wow. Okay. So there is a lot of things to give ourselves permission for. It's amazing. People pleaser, self-being that, being a no or yes person, and just, yeah, everything. No person. Yeah, I'm sorry, no person in the context. Well, just like having boundaries. And Michelle, you said something beautiful. It's just like giving ourselves permission to be who we most want to be and do what we most want to do, regardless of what that might look like. And I think also, I mean, hearing between the lines here, stop asking others for permission to love every single thing that we're doing or to approve or, you know, yeah, for me, that has been a huge thing, just realizing, oh, wow, okay, not everybody needs to love me. That's okay. I get to be me. Anyway, sounds like the most, of course, but wow, what a liberation. I don't know if you can relate. Yes. Okay, beautiful. Okay, wow, an hour flies by fast. Wow, oh my God. I could keep on going, so many questions, but okay, he's... Okay.
I have one question when you're ready, but keep going.
Okay. Okay, well, you take your question now. I'm curious.
All right. So, firstly, Nathalie, what a great job you've done.
Thank you.
To all of the panel, round of applause, really. Yeah. You know, and look, no one's leaving here, so feel free to go on, right? That's the first thing. The question that comes up, right? So we have maybe three or four men here, and I'm sure there's quite a few more who are tuning in, right? I think it's more close to the 4, actually. Yeah, cool. So in all of this, which role, if there is a role, do men play? And how can men be better supporters, if that's the right word for it in this case? Would love to have some of those questions answered.
Good one.
Can we be completely open and transparent? In my experience, I feel that men could do a lot with, they perhaps don't understand sometimes how eroded we can become. And I'm sure that men feel the same way often with women, but when they're wanting our love or attention and it seems to take us away from our path and our true north, and it feels like you're perhaps not being supported or being given the just that opportunity to be in your fullest of light. There's all sorts of consequences for that, and this sense in my personal experience of feeling eroded over time. And so I feel like men could do more to lift us up as queens and really allow us to shine as brightly as we possibly can. Rob was a great example of lifting me up in many ways. But, you know, we women are a force. We do love and support each other. And I feel like if we had our men lift us the way the women lift us, then we would just explode the world with light. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Wow.
So could you give an example? Cool. Can you give us an example of how men can lift you up? I get the understanding of what you're saying, but maybe an example might be a clearer way for other men to understand.
I guess if you're seeking some sort of an endeavour and it may take you outside of the family home, there could be fear with the men that perhaps if you're going to a new work experience or learning experience that you might meet people out external to that and they may feel a little threatened by that. And it's interesting that often the one thing that men are trying to avoid, which is to not feel needed, they end up actually pushing the woman away by their behaviour. Everyone, you're nodding. By their behaviour of trying to control that, for want of better word. So it's like not trying to control, just lifting up and supporting by saying yes and being loving in that support, not just begrudgingly, but yeah, I want to lift you up and I want to support you and see you fly so high that you may even leave me. Because, you know, I used to say this when in business, if we all train people and spend the money on training, then they're going to move on and the next employer is going to get the benefit of that. But if we all go, oh, bugger it, I'm not going to train these people because they leave, then nobody's kind of trained, right? The same thing in relationships. Just lift them so high, and if the worst possible thing happens that they leave, then you've actually helped another human being be in their fullest, lightest, brightest light, and that's got to make everyone feel good, surely.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, it's like you said. I guess for men to understand it, even though we say it so many times, do this, it's not. They don't understand it. But so maybe we can talk about it like in a business way. So when you have a business, you invest in your business, and the more you make, you reinvest in that business. So relationship or supporting your woman is like that. So you invest in that woman and anything that she needs. So if your business is going down in the management, you focus on the management and support that. If it's the marketing that needs help, then you fix the marketing. Or if it's the sales part, you fix that. So then the relationship is the same thing. So if your woman needs to be lifted in one way or another, you just focus on that and see her as your investment, because the more she flourishes and the more she shines, or the bigger she gets, the woman that's supported by her man, she lifts up even her man. It's not like, oh, okay, I am successful now, it's bye. It's not like that. We don't work like that. To the people who nourish us and take care of us, we are even more there. Even after, if this relationship doesn't work, that person is always there, because this person have been there and nourished this relationship, just like a business. Even if you sell that business, you're so proud of that business because you got it to a point where it's so successful. Even if you sell that business after, you'll still be like, I made this business to get here. It's such a proud thing. So you have to see your woman like an investment. Yeah. I don't know. I'm just trying to speak your language.
So many things. First thing I'd like to say is that, women have done the thing where they've fought for rights and they've proven that they're independent and we can be powerful and blah, 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 can do everything men do, all of those things. And we can be goddesses, all of it. But I think that a lot of us are actually over all of it. We're actually just so over it. Yes, we can build empires and all the things, but we don't actually want to do it all. And everyone's agreeing. We want to be able to do cool stuff in the world, but we also want to not have to do it all. And it would be great to have a man that comes and kind of goes, you know what? I'm just going to, acts of service is amazing, by the way. I'm just going to take care of this, and this. So you don't even have to think about it. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you for saving me some of that energy so it just isn't even on my radar. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And sometimes it's just big, and sometimes it's like we just need to let go. We just need to let go and not have to hold it all. And yeah, beyond that, ask the question, what do you need from me right now, and how can I best support you? Like, I'd hate to assume that we're all the same, even though we all agreed to all of that. That obviously looks differently for all of us. So how can I support you, and how can I actually, you know, when you're in those moments, what is it that you need? How is the best way to navigate that with you? When you're not in those moments, you know, what can you do? What can I do? How can I support? Simple as that. A question goes a long way, and listening to the answer, and acting.
Oh no, that's yours. That's yours. Wow, great question. Thanks for adding that to the conversation. Beautiful. It brings me, I remember once you said, Michelle, it was basically just to summarize what you were saying now. I just want someone who makes my life a little bit easier. Oh, yeah. That's it. End of the story. So yeah, thank you for sharing. And anyone else in the audience that would want to add some question? Because obviously we just got a little bit more time. If so, raise your hand. Or just say something. Yeah.
Question.
We never are.
Thank you so much for all of the information and just making it a beautiful evening. The colors are so beautiful and so soft to absorb, and the information as well. I feel like something very big is coming here, October, November, December. So what's our next step? Do you know, are you feeling it too? You know, it's like we've been women-owned businesses for many, many years. You know, I'm here in Bali at it for 25 years. I guess they call us a unicorn if we've already succeeded for 5 years and the business hasn't flopped. At 25 years, a little bit like I have not a clue, because something so big is rumbling underneath. Are you feeling it? And then what are we going to do? What's the next step?
I feel like there is a uprising of feminine energy, but not so much in the woman, but in the male and the female. I feel like there's going to be a lot of information and a lot of healing, and I really do feel like women are, like Michelle was just saying, for me personally, I feel like we're over that fight of fighting against men, and I feel like we really need to join hands now, and move forward. And that's in business, and that's in relationships, and it's in energy, because I work mostly in energy, and I feel great things coming. I don't feel the war that everybody else is talking about. I know intellectually that that's what should be happening, but for me, I feel that there's this beautiful feminine energy coming, and there's going to be a lot more peace. But that could just be the vision that I'm having in the world that I'm choosing to step into. So.
Yeah, I kind of want to say make love, not war. Yeah, I feel similarly that there's some kind of rebalancing, and there has to be. Like, we've gone so far one way, so far the other way, push, pull all over the place. Like, there has to be. And I would say that the war would be the ego and all of the things that are in the way from allowing and enabling that to happen. But yeah, I think women are absolutely fundamental and pivotal to it. So, yeah.
I got nothing to say. I don't feel anything.
Wow, okay.
I mean, in the future, I don't. Like right now, I feel good, and I'm hoping it stays this way, and everybody's happy and healthy and safe. But I don't really know what's coming, and I kind of like it like that.
To be continued, for sure. Okay, so anyone else? Someone has a question? Either way, we'll stay here even after we switch off the video. So if you have any question that you might want to say after, you're warmly welcome to share, of course. I would do you want?
Yeah,
okay, she has an extra.
Yeah. I want to add something earlier when you said an impact, and I shared in the way that I want to impact is by sharing a positive side of, of Africa or me, just in general as just a person, sharing a positive and good information. But what I want to also share is that every single person can make an impact. So if each person in their own journey, in their own profession, in their own way of whatever they have to offer, if everyone make an impact in a positive way, there won't be none of these wars, there won't be none of this hate, there won't be none of this negative things that surrounds us that's creating bad things. So at the end of the day, we all want the same thing. I have been to 50 countries with an Ethiopian passport, which is like traveling the world 3 times over, because it's very difficult. It's very, very difficult. Like I face, I think like the most place that I hang out is in that little room in the airport. I'm like, lady this way. I'm like, yep, I know where I'm going. How you doing? But I do all of this because I know I want to make a difference. I want to make an impact. I know the information that they have is wrong, so they have to treat me this way because it's what they know. So I'm pushing and I'm doing this. So, but if everyone does this in their own way, in their own field, and it's not just about individuality in the way that we are right now. It's all about like me. I make my money. This is for me. This is for that. Then there's no place for we. But if everyone makes their own thing, there is a place for we.
We are very aligned because my question was actually going to be, so ladies, we're going to start to wrap this up. And I wanted to ask you, I have 2 questions. And the first was going to be, if you have to just summarize, what's your message to the world? And we just got it from Yodit, so you were a little bit ahead, amazing. Cate and Michelle, what's your message to the world?
To take full responsibility for your actions, your thoughts, and your deeds, and to stop projection. Because in my belief, I think when we are in projection, when we're blaming other people, then we're in pain. When we take full responsibility, have a look at the intention of which we went into the situation, relationship, or business, or whatever it was, realize that if you didn't go in with the right intention, then you've probably been a really big part of the cause of why things didn't really work out. And taking that to a bigger global kind of scale, I feel like the pendulum is swinging so far in one direction to separation that it can only go the other way. And the whole idea of separation, that once we were separated from this idea of Christ consciousness, it's split into 2, which is ego and spirit, or Purusha and Prakriti if you're into your yoga. The separation actually didn't happen. It was an inspiration. It was an idea. It was like a thought. Sometimes we have a thought and then we don't actually do something about it. It was just a thought. It didn't happen. We're living in an illusion. We are all one. And as soon as we actually understand that, embody it, stop projecting onto other people, take full responsibility, the pendulum will actually swim back the other way and we'll come back to oneness. There won't be separation.
Big stuff here. Michelle, your message to the world.
Yeah. Gosh, I'm just kind of processing. I've always been driven by community and by bringing people together, and that's something that really inspires me. And I don't know if it's my big message to the world, but it's definitely part of it. This sense that none of us we're not born on our own. We're not born to do this on our own, and we're not before anything else. We're born to experience love and connection. We're meant to be born into tribes and organic communities. It doesn't always work out that way. But my biggest thing is that, coming out of a time where we've all been in isolation, I think that is probably one of the most concerning social issues that there are on the planet is social isolation. And I would just like to see a space or more spaces where people are able to come together to connect and to just, become more of themselves. I think we become through one another. So more opportunities and openness and acceptance, whatever it is, all of the different things that allow us to have that through life. And through doing that, we're then able to achieve more, be more, create more, and have a huger impact in itself. Yeah.
Wow. So then just to summarize as well, is it worth it, the journey? Yes. Okay, good. I have two, let's see where the time is. Two wrap-up questions. And before we go there, I want to take some time and just thank you, ladies, for being here, for being yourself and taking a stand for your truth and your values and the creations that you're bringing into the world. You are true inspirations, and for me, it's just been a true pleasure and joy to just hear you and listen to your wisdom, and just amazing. So that's one thing. Thank you, ladies. And everyone who's here, thank you for sitting there and being so nice and sweet and asking interesting questions and just being here and creating this kind of energy together. And of course, thank you to the amazing team here at Tropical Nomad. We have Gusmang over there, hello there, and Ayu, and Itchy, yes, among everyone else. You guys are just doing brilliant things here every day, not only on Mondays. So thank you for letting us be here. And of course, Robert, for being the creator of this full thing. If it wouldn't be for you, obviously none of us would be here. And also for giving us the possibility to come together and use this platform to share, this kind of message. And of course, everyone who is watching live or afterwards, thank you for being here with us. I think that was all the thank yous, yes. So wrap-up question. Okay. Let's see. What do we have? Okay, so if you ladies if you would write a letter to your younger self, it's a little bit aligned with the question that Bianca was asking earlier, but like in a new context. If you, where you're at right now, if you could write a letter to your younger self, where you're at right now, your journey, the setbacks, the rock bottoms, the child's pose, the wins, the celebrations, the happiness, the joy, like every single little thing, what would you have been wanting to tell to your younger self? Like the biggest lesson that you wish you might have known a little bit earlier?
Mine's a pretty simple one: to love myself unconditionally.
Oh, wait. What does that mean? Unconditionally.
Without condition. So I say to my children, and I did from when they were really young, there is nothing that you could ever do to stop me loving you.
Beautiful.
Your biggest challenges are going to inform what you end up doing in the world. Because for most of us, they do, right? Especially here.
Don't give up. We made it. We're a tourist.
Wow. Okay, actually, before that, just because you were so quick here, that was just like one power sentence from each and every one of you. Okay, so I'm going to give you one more then, because you were quick on this one. Because obviously now we have been speaking, a short speed version about, because Carol got us into the mess as well. Thank you. So, we've been talking about the journey, the calling, the challenges, the rock bottoms, but also, if it's worth it, we agree that yes, it is. So sitting here acknowledging yourself, speaking about loving ourselves unconditionally, if you could just take this moment to actually praise yourself, what would be the thing that you would really want to acknowledge yourself for? Something out of everything you've done, your accomplishments that you feel really proud of. What would that be?
I would have to say, first of all, being a mother of two amazing adults now, and also my marriages that I'm not in. I see them as successes.
I have a blank moment.
That's okay. We're having a powerful silent moment.
My greatest success.
Yeah, or just like a win, something that you feel, this is something that I'm really proud of. I want to acknowledge myself for this.
I think it's all in the becoming. I know that sounds really cliche, but you can talk about like how this whole topic came about. You can talk about I've done this or I did this or I did that, but sometimes the success is getting up off the floor. Sometimes the success is going, oh wow, I've got this thing, how do I begin to create it? Sometimes it's the everyday tiny little things where it's like, oh wow, I'm not afraid to do that anymore, or I can do that and I couldn't do that 2 months ago, or there's this crazy thing and I went and Googled it and now I know how to do that. Sometimes it's the inspiration, sometimes it's the not knowing and sitting with that. Like, I think every tiny little thing is a success worth celebrating.
Yes, amen to that. Amazing.
And for me is to say to myself that you're happy, you are free, and you are loved. So, but not just by people, but loved by me. So, yeah, that's what I say to myself. Yeah, right on.
Right on. Okay, so just bringing it back to self-love. Thank you, ladies, so much. So before we wrap up, I think I said that like 4 times now, but before we actually really do wrap up, where can people find you and just dive into all the goodness and the beauty that you're creating? So, Michelle, where can people find you?
The Aspire series, so www.theaspireseries.com. And I'm on Instagram, and Michelle Gardiner as well on the other ones, Facebook and LinkedIn, wherever else.
And if you want to find me, I have a YouTube channel called Habesha Traveler, and that's where I share my experiences and beautiful stuff that I do. So, Habesha Traveler, come to my YouTube, subscribe, share and like and comment. You can also find me on my Instagram. Also, it's Habesha Traveler. Habesha means people from Ethiopia and Eritrea, just like the Middle East people, we call them Arabs. So I am Habesha, and I'm a traveler, so Habesha Traveler. See you there.
You can find me on Instagram of Evolve with Cate with a C. My website is www.catedubois, and my book Triggered as Fuck is either on my website or in Amazon. So thank you.
Wow, and obviously all this information, you don't need to remember this. You can actually check the show notes for this episode of Speak Up Monday later. So,
maybe they can put on the description our links, so if people
yes,
want to
your
get
links
to us.
will be there, love.
Yeah.
I think so, yes. Yes. Okay, amazing. And again, well, thank you so much for being here. And just to summarize this conversation, I think we spoke about that a lot, just using the word togetherness. What is truly possible when we come together? Men, women, doesn't really matter where we're from, what we have been doing before. Just look at us here. For some reason, we're all here in Bali, sitting here in this little space and just sharing energies and just, That's a beautiful thing. So to just remember the power that actually happens when we can co-create as well. So yes, Robert, do you want to share something?
No, you can jump in.
Okay, well, thank you so much. Thank you.